This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Today, so we are going to maybe start with one of the small mini project. Okay. The project is just let's say there is a training center, and so maybe interested candidates they want to register for the course. Okay. So for that we need to develop the UI, and yeah, I have some mock-ups. So in the same way, we are going to develop and achieve the functionality. So I have a document, maybe I'll share with you. So this one, so what exactly the mockup should be something similar to like this. Okay, so initially, so the screen to register, the first screen should be like this. If someone is interested, they can populate the information and click on save so that the information should be saved into the database. And also after saving, so what should happen immediately after saving? It should show like this. It should maybe say success, and we show some message in the green color. And also we show one of the button if they are interested to know the fee and so which courses they can opt and what is the fee. So maybe to provide the flexibility, we are offering this button. So once if they click on this estimate fee button, so what should happen? It should open one of this screen. Okay, one of the pop-up. Here the list of available courses. Maybe for our demo purpose, we keep some courses available. They can choose those courses and click on Save and Next. So when they click on Save and Next, it should open one more screen. In that screen, so based on the courses, whatever selected from the database, we need to get the corresponding fee associated to those courses. Okay, and also duration and all the information. And they can also see the summary. So what is the total price if they opt for this and the total duration. So all those things. And also, let's say they don't want to take one of the course. They can choose that and delete. So that should be removed, and also the total price should be changed to as per what is there in this table. That is one of the feature. And also, if they have the interest, they can choose these all courses and export so that all this, the course name, duration, fee, everything will be exported into Excel file. Okay, and also if needed, we can print it as a PDF. But so I think as per our timeline, these features are sufficient. So that is what we are going to do as part of this project. So I think this to cover many things like and how we can validate the form, maybe how we find the event, when to use component event, when to use application event, and table, and so many things we'll be learning as part of this exam. Okay. So first, let's focus on developing this. Okay, step by step in a project. Really, when you work for a project, how we think and how we. So it looks like it is very simple, but when you start working, then you will see the complexity. And there will be many scenarios when you take one form. Okay, and also maybe I'm trying to add few points also to make our understanding easy. So if I don't capture like this and show, somehow after completing, people are not able to understand what we did. Okay, so this, if I show, I think we'll get the idea. And also the components, what I'm going to use, right? So I'm also trying to list here. So for this first screen, home registration screen. So before saving, how it looks, and after saving, how it looks. Okay, and also the components. The main component is this. In this, we are going to write our most of the logic. Maybe if you want, you can keep that component in container where the alignment, they want to see left side or right side or all those alignments then can be taken care wherever this component is used. Okay, and the other child components what we are going to use maybe to show the message, right? So maybe this success message, we are going to develop one reusable component. So based on parameters, what we attribute values, what we supply, it will show success or maybe error or warning, all those kind of things. Okay, and courses selection, so pick list, right? So first we focus here, and later the courses selection anyway. That component again in that what exactly we use. All those things I have listed. Maybe when you see this at high level, you will get overview. What are the components we created and what we are doing? Okay. So now first start with this screen and develop this and then quickly. So mostly we know we took many examples now. So let's little different things we understand and proceed. Okay. So now to develop that, so let me create one of the component with the name demo registration. So in that first we'll try to get this mockup. Okay. Now press F1 or a component. So this is the name I'm giving. Okay. So now the main thing, let's focus on the event, right? So maybe step by step what we are going to develop. I think that also. So I'm trying to add here steps, right? First we show a card with the form, and so with all the fields what required, whatever required, and all those things we do. Okay, this form, this look and feel we get it, and later we work on the other things. Okay, so maybe look into the form and try to maybe develop in the same way. Okay, first we are just achieving this look and feel. For that, you can copy paste. If you copy paste, you will never remember. Okay, if you type, so then only you can remember few things and you do few things quickly, right? So we need a card and a card with the title, right? For a card to give the title, say title, and let's say demo registration is the title. So that's it, right? So now inside that we need all this. How we align all these things using the layout is better option. Okay, so I'm taking lightning layout. Inside the layout, we are going to use multiple lightning layout items. Okay, and also in order to spread all these items in the next rows, right? We have to use one of the attribute multiple rows is equal to true. Okay, and so how many we need? So one row, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. First ones 2 times we need, total 7. We need 7 layout items, but first 2 items should occupy half of the part from the full width. From second, from this field onwards, the entire width should be occupied. Okay, to control the size, we have size, right? If you divide the screen into 12 parts, right? So 6 parts, this will be the half of the screen. Okay. So here, this is first name, right? For that is input. Lightning input. Label. What is the label? First name, right? And also you see in background, in line to that, you are seeing enter first name. That is placeholder. Placeholder. Enter first name, right? We are giving. So this will achieve this look and feel exactly what we need. Okay. And also I want to store this value in one of the attribute. Okay. So first name, I'm going to define some attributes here. I'll say attributes starts. In between, I'm going to keep all the attributes. Okay, so here one of the attribute or attribute name equal to store the first name, data type string. That's it. In the same way, let's say to store the last name, we need one. And also, what else we need? To store email, mobile, country, city. At total 4 we need. This is for last name. This is for email. Email is also a string. Mobile is also a string internally. Country, city. I have added all the attributes so that here when you enter value will be connecting to that attribute v dot first name. Okay, whatever we enter will store into that. And also to recognize this in a unique way, local ID, Aura ID is equal to, I'm just giving first name only. Now I want to make this as required, right? Because if you see here, it is required. Required is equal to true. I'm keeping all these things. And also padding. Okay, if you don't give padding, what will happen? Let's see. Instead of adding everything and later checking for padding, and we need to end up with making many places different changes. So far, how it is looking. So let's see, and we also adjust padding, and based on that, we proceed further. Okay, so save it, and to see the preview quickly, open developer console. Go to this test tab, demo registration, preview. Right, so far it is looking like this. Yeah, but if you see it is from screen, it is very, we need some padding to give. To give the padding, go to lightningdesignsystem.com. Maybe in one of the window, keep component library also. So here lightning design system, go to padding. So I want to give maybe horizontal padding. Okay, so from left to side. padding. So let's say we go with left side, this one. I'm copying this, and so I'm going to give that padding for this layout item, and now deploy and see how it is looking. And now I think it is fine. And also I want to give the padding for this entire card. Okay. So for that, I want to give location padding around. Maybe let me go with this padding around medium. Go back, and for this entire card, I'm giving that. Okay, so now I think we'll be good. Now this is for first name. One more. This is for last name. Label, right? Last name. Placeholder. Please enter last name. I know an attribute with the name last name and ID last name. Right? It should also occupy 6 spots. I think we are good. One more. This time it is this one. It should occupy the full width. Okay, I'm giving size 12 parts. This time only name. This time there is no placeholder, but we are going to disable this. Disabled is equal to true. So value should be first name plus some space plus without last name. Yeah, that will be the value. So since we disabled, it should not be required, right? So here just giving name. So like this. Okay, now let's see maybe how it is looking. After adding everything, if you see, we need to make many changes. Okay, so now let's go back and just refresh. Okay, now I think it is fine. Okay, now let me add the other. Okay, this should be 12. This time, email, right? Email. Okay, so here label, email, enter, email, dot email. So email what is equal to true, yes. And also format type, right? So if you don't give anything, by default it is text. So I want to give the type as email, okay, because we are dealing with the email. Okay, and I think everything is fine. Now this for mobile, mobile, enter mobile, mobile ID giving as mobile. This one we need to give TL. And if you have maybe some doubt on maybe how it is, when you go to this component library, quickly here we can see, right? Input, click on input, a telephone input is like this, right? So it's like that. Maybe you can maybe cross check. Yeah, so this is also fine now. One of the next thing I think country and city, right? So now This also should occupy 12 parts. This is also 12 parts. One is for country, but it is a pick list, right? Using input, we cannot show pick list. We have two different options to hold the pick list values. If you see the standard component library, in the component library, so one is using combo box. Okay, one of the option. We see this one. So this is one of the option to provide the input. Okay, so let's say I'm going to follow this one. Copy, and this here, paste it. Okay, so here name is country. Label should be country. Value, we have v dot country. Placeholder, anyway we are going to give some default value. We don't want the placeholder. The options we have to give to hold the options of the country. If you see here in the example, we have to provide the options like this. Okay, so let me copy. I'm going to use the same thing. Okay, so here this form inputs. Here list values to hold defining one of this attribute. Okay, maybe here instead of calling as options, I'll say countries, and it is list type. And let's say we are going to give India, let label and value of the pick list. Okay, so Australia. Okay, so I'm giving like this. Okay, so now this attribute values I'm referring as options here. Okay, so the options, whatever we have in that attribute, those options it will take. And unchanged, right? And also maybe as a default value. Now, if you see here, we have 3 countries. For this country, giving default value as India. Okay. So now we come back here and see as a default value in this combo box, it has to show India. And also on changing the value. So whenever you change the value in the pick list, right? Option selected and finished. So for that logic also here they are giving, right? So we are also going to use similar thing. Okay. So what we do here, we'll say on country change. Okay. So now we are going to open the controller. On country change. We are going to call this function. This function, whatever the changed value is there to get that, this is the syntax. Event dot get param. Here in the combo box, in the value, whatever the value attribute, whatever the value is there to get that, right? So this, okay, to get the selected value of the combo box. We use this, right? So now whatever is selected, that should be set as a country. We have a attribute country, right? So I'm setting v dot country to that country. After changing the pick list value in the combo box, the newly selected value we are setting to this country. Okay, so that's what we are doing. So that's the meaning. So all that we have done, right? This is to do that. Okay, so now the next one. Maybe before we see that next country pick list, so let's deploy and see so far how it is looking. Okay, and also if you want, just print that value console.log. Is this is really getting the selected value or not? Right, to get the attribute value, get e.country, right? So deploy. Now let's maybe go back here, just refresh. Now you are seeing this is the combo box, right? And also inspect. Yeah, if you want to make this, I think this one also you can make it required. So now on changing of the value, we are calling a function. And if you see, the selected value is assigned to that country attribute. I think it is working fine so far. Now the next thing, city. Okay, go back. And here, city, enter city. And we have city attribute to recognize again city type. Basically here, this won't give the pick list, right? So basically, just I want to show you all possible options. So this time we have one more type. Okay, so select list is one of the other type. Select. Okay, this is one more type. So here, so like this, in a plain way, we show maybe the selected value and all. To get that, there is no standard mechanism. We have to write our own logic on finding and identifying the selected value, or we need to wire to one of the attribute. Okay, so maybe this also we use so that we know both how we use. So I'm copying, I'm keeping here. Mostly label is city. Okay, city. Okay, it is required. I think combo box also you can make it required. Right? Required equal to 2. And that's it. Placeholder is not needed. Maybe here we give choose country like that. Okay, this I'm just removing. Okay, so now here, this is choose country is fine. It is a default value. If you choose this, the value is blank. Okay. For other things, so which values you want? Okay, for that, maybe for now, I want to hard code some default values, and later maybe we'll also deal with how exactly we get. Okay, for now, to think that we have some countries and iterate, I'm defining one more, sorry, cities, and the label, so I'm giving Bangalore, and maybe some other cities for US country. So the value should be in this format. So that, I mean, even if it is not in this format also, so directly we access from that. Sometimes on UI what we show internally, the value what we deal might be different. That time if you maintain like this, it is better. Okay, so let's say these are the cities. Now we are going to iterate and display all these things, right? This one remove, this one remove, this one needs to be iterated. So what we use for iteration, that already we use it, right? Aura iteration items equal to the list of items v dot cities, right, where each and every city. Right now here city means this entire object which is having label and value, right? So maybe label is what we see here, city dot label, and as a value after selecting city dot value. So these are the things. Okay, now demo registration, deploy, go back. Now if you see here, refresh. Okay, so now here if you see all those are displayed, but here we have a problem, right? If you see we have many scenarios here to handle, right? If I choose India, if I choose San Francisco, which is not good, so we need to somehow create the dependency. Okay, so we can also maybe store in some custom metadata and pull from there. Now somehow, right, I will simplify and explain. So let's say we also need to control that mapping. Okay, so let's assume that on page load we'll be getting the mapping, and by using that mapping information, what is the country and the corresponding cities, we are going to retrieve the corresponding cities based on the selected country. Okay, so anything on load if you want to do, so what we need to use, it's anyone on load of the component, on initiating the component,
handler or a handler.
or a handler. What is the event we need to handle?
Init value init.
Yeah, we need to handle init. Okay, so name and the value is always this action, and this triggers c dot. I'm calling a function with the name doing it. Okay, so on load, this doing it will be called. And, let's say I'm keeping that here. Function event. So helper, if you don't want to call, you don't need helper, but I want to call. Okay, so now here, so assume that we made some server call and we have the JSON. Okay, to simplify a few things, and really if needed, we again pull from server and do that. Okay, now I'm manually constructing that response what the server we are thinking it is returning. Okay, so city and country, let's say mapping is equal to, maybe here I'm hard coding the, okay, so JSON. Really, you can also make the server call. Okay, so since same string if you want to write in multiple lines, okay, so we have to concatenate with plus. And this entire thing, this is a string. And next line, if I want to write something, we need to use plus symbol and concatenate. Right. So here I'm going to keep something, and for that plus. For that again, this will be appended like that. Okay. Now we have 3 countries. For each country, okay, I'm going to I'm going to add one array. Okay, so here what I'll do, inside single quote you can use double quotes. Right? So India as a key, and corresponding country, corresponding cities. I'm taking one array, comma. Again, next country, and the next country. After that, I'm not keeping any element. Okay, so here. Say for India, maybe if you see here, maybe we are going to give these two, right? Copy these two. I want to keep in this array, but if it goes to multiple lines, it is a problem. And also, the entire thing we are enclosing in single quote. Again, here if it finds single quote, again we need to write some escaping keys and all those things. That will become more complex. So what I will do here, instead of single quote, I want double quotes. Okay, so Control F, replacing that single quote with a double quote for all the references. Now we have this. Now again, go back, paste it, and maybe keep everything in same line so that we don't face any problem. So like this, right? So in the same way for Australia, I think for Australia we have only one. It's better to copy Canberra. Okay, so I'm giving that city, and the US we have two. Okay, maybe directly. Yeah. So let's say somehow from one of the server method we are getting a response like this. Okay, but whatever we have here, it is in the string format. Right? So maybe print it and see how it looks. It is like a raw string, right? City, country, mapping. So now I also serialize and print and show you how it is. Right? So when you serialize how it looks, JSON.log, JSON.serialize, which will convert into JSON format. Okay, so this string I'm serializing and also I'm printing, and see both how the difference. Okay, so we think that this is a JSON, and if you try to access, you'll see some problems. Let's first deploy and see the difference. If you serialize, it will be converted into a proper JavaScript object, and easily you can access the information. So anyway, all that will be executed on load, right? On load, we are calling that. Okay, so now just if you refresh, okay, JSON.serialize is not a function. I think the spelling is wrong. Spelling. Okay, so we have a method called serialize. It is not. Okay, I think parse is the one. Okay, we have to use JSON.parse to convert the string into serialize is Apex method. JavaScript we need to use parse. Okay, so that it will be converted into the object. Okay, so let's take that. Go back to our logic. Maybe this one not needed. So remove. And here use parse. And now deploy. If you see, the screen looks very simple. So when you do the development, then you will see many scenarios like this. Okay, now if you see here, this entire string as it is printing. This is array, right? So here in a proper way, it is giving all results with the objects and all those things. So that's the difference. We have to do that, then utilize. Okay. So now maybe what I'll do, this one I'm storing into one of the maybe same variable I'll use. I'm replacing that information with this. Okay. And finally, I want to maybe do the mapping, and because I want to reuse the logic again and again for some other scenarios also, to bring the city pick list values based on the country. Maybe on load one time, on changing the value one more time. So that means here also on changing the country, that time also based on the country we need to get the value. So instead of copy paste the same logic, so I want to reuse. So I'm going to define one helper method for that. Okay, but when I supply to helper method, since I want to persist this mapping somewhere, so I'm defining one of the attribute to persist the mapping. Okay, so here This time, this mapping, it is like a object, right? It's like a JSON. So here I'm taking the type as object. Object means technically any type it can accept. It's a JSON actually. And here I'll define, maybe follow the same name I'm giving. Okay. To that I'm going to set. So component dot set v dot, into that I'm setting. Now onload, all these things will happen, and also onload based on the country I want to get the corresponding pick list values. So the plan is I'm going to supply this component into a function, and through this component we can get this mapping, and based on the country get the corresponding city values. So here in the helper, okay, let's say I'm saying set cities, okay, into cities, one of the attribute, we are going to set the corresponding right values. Okay, so I'm only going to supply component. Now I need country. For which country we need constant country is equal to the component. We have the country in the country attribute. We got country. This will give the value, right, of the country. Now I want the entire mapping. What we have, this one. From that, again, if you want to get that component dot get, that is also one of the attribute b dot get in that. We have that. Now we need to, from that mapping, we need to separate the cities and store, right? So what I'll do for this mapping, right here. So when you have the JSON like this, when you supply within the square bracket, if you supply the key, you give the corresponding value. Okay, country, when you supply. So if you see here, country India, let's say if you supply, get the corresponding array. Right? The result of this one is an array. So that I'm setting to the cities, right? Whatever cities pick list we have into that. Okay. So to set that, so what we do, component dot set v dot cities. That's the attribute name, comma. Maybe instead of again storing in some variable and assigning, directly assigning. So that's it. Based on the country, we are getting the corresponding cities and assigning to this cities attribute, so that in the iteration it can iterate and only show the right cities. Okay. So now, okay, copy this and now call this one from here. Dependent cities based on the country. Helper dot set cities. That's the name. You need to supply so that it will take care. Okay. Now let's see. So that is happening or not. Okay. Now the field dependency on load will take care. Okay. Deploy. Yeah, assignment to a constant variable. So somewhere I think for constant I'm trying to assign this one. Okay. I'm going to use that to replace right here. So that's why I'm changing to left, because I'm modifying. So make sure in helper also you're not doing that. Okay. So now deploy. Okay, so now if you see here, India, if you see here, we need to see only Indian cities, right? Now, if I choose Australia, so Australia city should be displayed, right? Again, we need to handle. Anyway, on change here, we see as per our logic, on changing of the city, we are calling this one. Here also, if you write this statement, right, we are reusing this, add it, it will take it of setting the values. Okay, now I click and deploy. It is deployed. Now again, just refresh. Okay, so now if you see here, now if I change to right, only, if I change to USA, only those values it is showing. Okay, so I think we are good, right? So like that. Yeah, now I think we are done with as per the screen how it looks, but only one pending thing, save button, right? So let's introduce a save button. For that, go to UI. So we are going to take maybe one more. The button should be occupying the full length like this. Okay, one more layout item. Here, button, right? This time button, lightning, button, label, giving a save. Here it needs a save. So name is optional for now. Okay, if you want to can give. I don't want to give unnecessarily. So now next thing, variant. I want to by default if you don't give anything, it is base. Okay, variant is equal to brand. Brand means it will show in the blue color, and that's it, right? And on click on that, we need to call one function that we'll see later. For now, so let's see how it looks. Over here and just refresh. Okay, but it is not looking good. So at least we need to give some line break. This should occupy the full width. So basically, since it is also a lightning component, right? One of the standard component. Directly using style is not supported. Style attribute. It is HTML element directly you can use the style attribute. So to bring this to the full width, so we have the CSS resource in the bundle, right? So CSS. So here, and also if you remember our initial discussion when we started, if it is direct to child, we should not give any space to apply, but it is not directly inside the component tag, right? So we have to give the space. Now let's say here button. So this is the class name I'm giving. So I'll say width, say 100%. Okay, so this is a style class name. Go here, and I'm applying here. Class is equal to style class. Okay, and also I think one line break will give better. Okay, now let's go back. Now deploy. Deployed. Just a refresh. Okay, just now if you see, it is showing in the full width. Okay, so it is responsive, right? If you see as per the mockup, it will look okay. But where we use in that place, we have to take care of. Right? So how exactly we use this? Okay. So now we are done with this mockup as per this screen. But the pending thing, on click on save, we have to validate the form. Already we are, I think we saw examples how we validate. This time little few new things I'll explain. And once the validation is done, so let's say this save button should be disabled immediately. And I want to show estimate one of the button. So Aura if and all those things. Again, this message, we develop one reusable component and show this message. All those things we do. Okay. So those things we'll do tomorrow. So far, this 6 steps still we need to do. Okay. So, and also tomorrow we develop all these components and continue. Maybe two more sessions it will take, or maybe 3. Okay, and after that we also take one more example with the data table with row level actions, and I'll give a few assignments to handle maybe the, so maybe on top of the table also sometimes we need to add some actions. So I'll maybe provide those few small things as maybe assignment. So today before ending, any questions anyone? Okay, so let me comment this. Okay, so you should see the latest changes. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow, and maybe I'll also give the, anyway in these notes, right? If you see this is the link, copy that link and open. So maybe this document will be open. Okay. In case if it ask for some access, I'll give access. Okay. Maybe I'll share after this session. Okay. We'll continue tomorrow. Thank you.